Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Lab podcast. And today, Kel and I are going to be talking about your holiday survival guide because that is something that everyone seems to struggle with, staying on track, freaking out about staying on track, or just, losing your mind and quitting altogether through the holiday season. So, yeah, but before that, Kel, how's it going? Update us on your life.
It's going okay. Having a little bit of family drama, but overall it's going pretty good. Had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It snowed, which is like fun. It gets me in the holiday spirit. Um, but other than that, it's just been cold as hell here. Um, and yeah, and just kind of staying warm and being cozy.
Well,
How about you?
um, I mean, that sounds pretty nice, especially since like holiday season approaching. Sounds very Christmassy, like you'd expect. How cold does it get where you're at?
Right now, actually, it was like 25 when I went out. I was doing some work outside.
Okay.
Um, and it was 25 degrees. But
Nice.
it was really fucking cold. I was up in Cleveland for the holiday, and it is very cold up there. And they ended up getting a lot of snow after we left. I'm glad that we left when we did because I think we it would have really sucked to drive in if I'm being honest.
Yeah, oof, snow. I've like attempted to drive in it one time. Never again. I just, it's awful. I'm like, I got too much anxiety for this. I'm going to just literally cause an accident because my brain just doesn't want to work. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I drive a pickup truck, and it's and we have really windy roads where I'm at because I'm basically in a holler. But I had to put in. I've never done this because I've had my truck now for like 6 years, but I had to put sandbags in the back of it for the first time so it doesn't fishtail. Um,
Oof.
so that was a fun new experience, but we're all
Yeah.
set. I think I should be good now.
Well, that's good. um, yeah, so over here, it's been sunny, thankfully. We had like a week of kind of nonstop rain the week previously, so it's been nice to get sunshine. It's amazing how it works with your energy levels and you just feel like so much less depressed and like life isn't just an absolute shit show just with a little bit of sunshine. So yeah, that's been a nice little mood booster. I think without that I probably would have lost my mind at some point this week. So you know how uh I think I mentioned it that November was like the last payment for this shitty business coach that I had.
Mhm.
uh so I covered all my bases. I gave her like a 30-day notice just to make sure because I never know what like her contract says because it's just the worst. Like anything she could think of that someone would like sue her or any way she could catch someone to like get more money. Like it's just formatted crazy. So I was unsure if I need a 30-day notice to like have her stop my payments. So it wouldn't just go month to month. And first of all, she's like, "Oh no, you don't need that." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Okay, cool." And sure as fuck, like, I opened my bank account December 1st, and she pulled out another $2,000. I'm like,
What the fuck?
"Yeah." I was like, "So that's my 13th payment." No, you're not. So like, I messaged her and like her team and with screenshots of being like, this is my 13th payment. I am not giving you any more because I have given you too
No.
much as it is. And they did reverse it, but then she kicked me out of like the program Slack, which I was like, technically, you're supposed to have me in there till the end of December. So either you
Right.
put me back in there, not that I want to use it, or you give me another $2,000 back.
Right. For
So
real.
yeah, she put me back in. I'm like, man, I wanted the 2K instead, but um it's
Damn.
just yeah. It's like you think that you like close this chapter in your life and then it just comes back to haunt you. But there's definitely gonna be some I just want to like put out some sort of warning content of business coaches in general, or just hiring business coach, like red flags if you're anyone who's ever looking to hire one. Because like there's plenty of mistakes that I made and just kind of like not seeing the red flags in the moment. But I would say red flag number one: if you're hiring a business coach and like how there's so this specific one is for like fitness businesses. Uh Come to find out, she's only been doing like fitness coaching for like 1 to 2 years before she decided to do business coaching for fitness coaches.
So
And that's a red flag, because how the fuck are they going to teach you to like scale your fitness business if the way that they scaled their business was becoming a business coach? So in a sense, it just becomes an MLM, because she turns her coaches that she's coaching into business coaches. And like that is not what I thought the program was about. I thought she was going to like specifically have you scale your business in the way that you wanted to, and I had a very like distinct way that I wanted to go about it. And
yeah.
I don't even know if she like read my intake form. Uh, she like poo pooed on like the one thing I said, and was like, okay, so you can have a team of coaches, or you can create like a course like her. You can be a business coach. And I'm just like, if I knew that was your only tricks, you could pull
Only
out your
path.
bag. Yeah, like I wouldn't want to sign up for this. And I just would not align with her values. If anyone's had success, cool, but it generally means that you're a lot like her. So yeah, never again, never again.
Never again. Well, at least you're done, and you can go into 2025 with a clean, fresh slate.
Yes, exactly. And God, hopefully not make any other stupid decisions. But yeah, I think I was like on this high coming off of my show, and um, I was just like ready to conquer the world. And that was not, that was not the right thing to conquer.
Not it.
So, anyways,
Uh, ugh.
uh,
That sucks, though. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
sorry, I think you froze a little bit there.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was pretty chill. Went pretty smooth. Did like partially cooked Thanksgiving. Essentially just used the turkey, and then I made like the potatoes and the sides and stuff. But that helped tremendously. And I so we had it at Dez's place. If anyone knows, like we live in the same complex, like really close to each other. So it was essentially like having two kitchens. So I just put the turkey in her oven and then like
Very nice.
cooked the rest. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, cool. We've got two ovens, we got two kitchens. And so I just cooked most of it over here and then just brought it over, when it was done. So yeah. How about you?
Yeah, it was good. We had everything. It was a little crazy because um, I went up to Maddie's families, but she has a little bit bigger of a family, and everybody has a dog or a couple dogs. So I think there were 6 dogs at Thanksgiving, and I none of them are small. So Dolly, I think, was the smallest, and she's like 30 pounds, but everybody else was much bigger. And two of the dogs are um, Dolly's litter mates, but they're like double her size for some reason. So they're like 60-pound dogs. So it was just a lot of puppy wrestling and puppy WWE, which is fun,
Oh,
but a little bit
yeah.
overwhelming at times.
It's like at first it's fun when you're like watching them, but then when you're trying to like do things or eat or whatever, you're like, are you serious? Like,
I was just so worried about getting taken out at the knee because that's happened before to me, and it's like, please don't. I just want to stand.
oh yeah, crazy dogs. But yeah, cool.
It was a good time.
So I mean, I guess this kind of transitions into our topic. But I don't know about you, with your clients checking in and stuff, there is a lot of anxiety around, maybe the scale going up or about having an off week because the holiday. So there, we kind of talk about how to navigate the rest of the holidays. December is like a heavy month. There's a lot of Christmas parties. There's your family Christmas, or it can end up being multiple events where it's harder to navigate because we usually say like Thanksgiving. There's no like pre-Thanksgiving parties unless there's like a Friendsgiving. Um, but like the whole month of December, I feel like is just prone to social gatherings and food and drinking. So yeah, how do we navigate that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this always throws people, and I think everybody gets so in their heads about Christmas and the holiday season, December being so hard, and I think honestly, society sets us up well, and not to blame it again on society, but with the big push about New Year's resolutions and everything, I think December tends to be like a fuck it month for folks, and they
Yes.
just are like, oh well, I'll start over fresh in January.
January. Yeah.
Um, but I don't. We don't want people to do that.
Yeah.
It's not a good way. You don't want to add a bunch. You don't want to gain 12 pounds just to start losing again. So I think. Planning around the holidays and not letting it go drive you crazy. I saw actually, I think it was Austin who posted, I'm sure you saw it on Instagram. Austin, your coach,
Yeah.
something about like how you don't want to stress yourself out by trying to reduce your stress. Did you see that post?
Maybe, but
Um,
maybe
but
not.
I think that comes that can be a real thing, especially during the holidays, because everybody gets so uptight about everything, and it just makes that thing that we've talked about before, the swing, the pendulum swing. I feel like once you start freaking out, you're just pulling your string up higher and higher, and then you'll break and come crashing down the other direction. So I think maybe if we just talk about how we can how people can kind of navigate that and find the balance. I know you hate the word balance and finding balance, but it's
No.
about setting boundaries, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What's like
I know
priorities
I
and
have my calendar. I have my calendar up. I have the next 3 weekends. I have Christmas parties.
yeah.
So
So that's a perfect example. Like, what do you do when you've got Christmas parties all in a row? How do you plan to tackle that, Kel?
so I kind of use the same plan every holiday season. So I try my best to plan my treat meal around the holiday parties. So um, typically, I don't know many holiday parties that happen during the week. So I usually just save my treat meal for that holiday party. That way you can kind of have it and don't really have to like I don't want to go wild, but I also have a little bit more flexibility, right? So I think that is key. Is to if you have a treat meal, if you're not in prep or anything, use it and plan for it. You have to kind of pick and choose where you want to kind of use your budget for calories, right? At least that's kind of how I think about it. Like it's just about budgeting and planning. So I know I'm planning on doing my treat meal on this Christmas party. I actually also have my mom coming down. We're going to like the tree lighting ceremony in my town on
Nice.
Friday, and I straight up told her, I'm like, look, eat before you come. I am doing everything on plan on Friday night, so so you're on your own. And I think it's about that. It's about setting clear boundaries with your friends, your family, and the party, and yourself. Because I think a lot of times we just have to hold ourselves to the our boundaries that we're setting, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's basically that's the hardest part about navigating the holidays is you feel that like social pressure to either eat something or drink something, and you don't want to be rude. And, maybe someone baked some cookies at some gathering or they send you home with cookies. Like if they send you home with cookies, one, like you still don't have to eat them. Like maybe you do just have one or something. And then like throw the rest out. I know it sounds wasteful, but if you keep them in your house, you're gonna end up falling right into them. Um,
Well, I want to interrupt you real quick because actually I just finished all my check-ins. Check-ins happen on Monday, um, and I was so proud of my one clients. Their parents sent them home with all these desserts and breads and shit, and they literally didn't even bring it in the house. They went straight from the car to their elderly neighbor and said, "Here you go." And I just want to say that's a great way. Just re-gift all that shit.
Yeah, that is definitely a good option. Like if there's anyone else uh, can enjoy those instead of throwing them away, yeah, pass them on. But yeah, the boundaries thing is huge because I know there's a lot of people who don't want to feel rude, about not partaking in something, or even if it's like, oh, we go out to dinner, or I have like 3 dinners out this week. Like, how do I plan? It's like plan to have one of them be your treat meal, the other two try to plan ahead. And if you know what you're gonna order, or look at the menu ahead, see what they have, try to get it to fit into something that you would normally eat. There's usually a good amount of options. If it's still iffy and you're not sure, like try to eat a little less at the beginning of the day, just to kind of create a little more cushion for you for that meal out. And yes, it takes some planning. It takes a little sacrifice. Maybe you're eating less in the beginning of the day to make room for things. But that's just the way you kind of pivot during, high social months. And it's just
Mhm.
something to keep in mind of like, unless you're a really social person and this is your norm, you're going to have to learn this anyways if you want to reach your goals. Uh, but if not, then just know this is just like 1 month. And I think the biggest thing is we just have this, it's like FOMO, right? Even if we don't necessarily want something, or we weren't thinking that we wanted something, and then we see some people eating a particular food and enjoying it without you, and then you're just kind of like, well, but it's just like you got to keep your goals in mind, and those people are on a different journey path. Like they're enjoying that, but there's plenty of other things outside of food to enjoy, kind of like the company of the people you're with. And
Mhm.
yes, food is something we bond over. It's part of the culture and just you know being social. uh but there's more to these get-togethers than just the food and the alcohol. So it's like have a conversation. All these things are like generally people just want you in their presence, and if anyone gives you a hard time, there's something going on with them that is not related to you. And I know family is probably the worst with this, especially like if your family is the type of family who shows love with food, and if your mom's like you know, made her, homemade whatever, and like really wants you to eat it, save that for your treat meal so you don't have to break your mom's heart, like
Yep. Yep.
number one. Um, or, you can still set boundaries with your mom. Maybe you've just like had enough and now she's like trying to give you like your second serving of dessert, and you can be like, oh no, like, thanks, mom, I'm good. You're an adult. You can set boundaries. It's okay. Um, yeah, no one gets to force you to do anything.
No, and I think the other thing that you can kind of think. Oh, I have two things, I guess. I know one thing that I used to get like really into was like every year I wanted one of those boxes of the Little Debbie trees. Like the cake trees. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like the white. Um,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, these are so good, and they only come out once a year. And I literally last Christmas I was like, these aren't even freaking very good. Like it's just processed crap. Like it's
Yeah.
not even that tasty, and it's just like that nostalgia of oh, I used to love these when I was a kid, and this is just what I do. But once I step back and I'm like, this isn't even fucking worth it. And I'm not saying that all your food has to be quote unquote worth it, or that like we don't need to go down that toxic rabbit hole. But I was just like it was like an aha moment to me. It was like I don't need this. I'm not missing out. Like there's nothing to miss out on, like a Twinkie basically with icing over it. Like it's just not as good. I would much rather wait into my treat meal and have like a home baked delicious cookie.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to talk to people about like, look, you're gonna have cookies. That's the thing on Christmas. pick the one type that you know you fucking love, and have that, save it, right, and kind of savor it. You can almost it feels much more like a treat, right? It is that and it's something that you really enjoy. And I think once you kind of step back and think about, is this really about the food, or is it about, I just, this is what I normally do? And I think it's that it's always about getting that pause in to let your brain kind of catch up to your instincts and and your habits, right? So I think that is one thing to think about. Also, if you really really want some, you can also talk about like portion control, and maybe you can have a little bit. You don't need to have an entire plate full. So there are all kinds of ways where you can kind of set boundaries. They don't all have to be like, I can't have this. They
Yeah.
can be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like distinguishing the difference between, restriction and restraint. Restriction being like, oh yeah, no, I can't eat this, versus like, well, I know I can if I want to, uh, but I'll have it another time. So um, I think the other big thing is I feel like, well, there's a few things that can happen with holiday stuff. There's also, not only are there more social gatherings throughout the month of December, but we have leftovers. Maybe you're hosting, you might have leftovers from that, or you have Christmas leftovers, or we also have like a Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve meal. And so it's a lot more heavy in that sense. Um, I know it's hard to like get rid of leftovers, but if you can, like the previous, giving the cookies away, if you can give leftovers away as much as you can, uh, definitely do that, because your leftovers turn into Christmas for multiple days. That's how like the weight gain actually does start. Otherwise, it's like, oh, one day, no big deal. But it's not one day if it's like a week's worth of leftovers that you're just eating. So try not to make too much for first, to start off, a giveaway or whatever
Well,
you can.
yeah. And with leftovers, you like some, like there are some foods that you're going to have at Christmas that can work into your macros. You don't, it doesn't have to be a black and white thing. Like,
True.
oh, I ate this at Christmas, cannot have it again. But like if it's turkey
Yeah.
or ham or something like that, you can still incorporate that into your food and still feel like you're getting that leftover experience, but maybe skip the, I don't know, like the really heavy whip heavy creamed mashed potatoes or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. So it's just about finding things that you can have, and go with that and be like, oh, I call the ham leftovers. Everybody else can have everything else, or something like that.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's about not making it as black and white, and try to give yourself a little bit more flexibility in that sense.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
always room for new traditions too, or new dishes that you want to try. I think
Yeah.
that's also a possibility.
Yeah. And then we have like the emotional aspect of things, I think, where, sometimes it can be hard, uh, depending on how you get along with your family. Or maybe you don't have any social get togethers for this month. And then, or maybe a few, and there's more of a tendency to like binge because you're like kind of, trying to numb whatever emotions you're feeling. Or maybe after Christmas, like you just spent time with people you did not want to. So now you've got leftovers and you're ready to like go ham on those as soon as these people leave, because you're just like, I don't know. I just need to feel good.
Eat my feelings.
Yeah. I need to eat my feelings now. So that's also something to be aware of if you're someone who's prone to binging, like be attentive to your triggers towards that. If you're feeling like you really want to, or you're kind of heading down that way, just try to like be aware of that, put in some coping skills, whether it's like pausing, you know, just allowing yourself to feel those feelings versus trying to numb them out. Go for a walk, journal, listen to some music. I don't know, find a punching bag if you're angry. Anything outside of just like eating those feelings.
Well, and I think also if you are someone who has struggled this in the past, or if this is your first maybe holiday on a fitness journey, I would highly suggest planning ahead in with like ideas of other things that you can do. So, and this is like things that you can suggest to your family. Maybe instead of doing like just sitting and drinking and eating, play a board game, or a puzzle. I know I made my mom, well, I made my family start doing puzzles on Christmas Eve instead of getting wasted, because we've always been a big drinkers at Christmas Eve. And when I stopped drinking and my sister cut back on drinking, we started doing puzzle, because it was like something that we could passively do, still talk to folks, um, keep our hands busy, and not add calories. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
a good idea.
yes. Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. You don't have to become a turkey trot family just because you're on a fitness journey. There are in between steps.
Oh man, that's funny. It's funny how that I feel like that's a thing. Like when people just get into fitness, they're like, "We're gonna do turkey trot this year," and it's cute. I've never personally done that, but it's not the worst either. If you want to do it, but it's not required.
It's not required. Like I've always joked like my family is not a turkey trot family. We're a mimosa family. So, and they're starting drinking when we're opening presents. So, it's just again finding that in between, right there. You don't have to be at one extreme or the other. I highly suggest, this is coming from an autistic person, that the gray is an okay place to live even if it's uncomfortable for a while.
Gray, what is that?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I was also thinking of like, um, there's one other thing that I was trying to, uh, totally is leaving my mind. Oh yeah, don't punish yourself afterwards. Don't do extra
Don't
cardio
punish
or
yourself.
like fast the next day if you ate too much because you're gonna end up in a binge restrict cycle most likely. So just carry on as normal. Like whatever happened, get back to your normal things. Do not give in to the urge to overexercise and undereat to try to make up for what happened. It's just a form of, beating yourself up essentially and doesn't work.
No, and you could never shame yourself into progress. So I think that's one thing. It's really hard when you're first like working through this in your head. I know I used to be really big fan of shaming myself if I fucked up, and it's never gonna work. So it's really, don't beat yourself up. Just try your best to move on, and be gentle, because I think a lot of people really fuck themselves up in the head when, if they've failed, and it's not going to make it better to
No.
make yourself feel like crap. It's going to really stress you out, and it's going to make it harder. So if you're really someone who can get in your head about food and about failing at, quote unquote, failing, um, be gentle.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so funny. I always struggle with that because it's like, like you said, shame, like big fan of shaming myself into it's like it's so hard to switch gears because you always want to it feels safe, which is sounds crazy, right? But it's just like, well, you know, I've shamed myself into shit so far and like now I'm afraid if I don't, what if I just lose all motivation and don't do anything? But it's like, except for those moments where you're like, well, how is that working for me exactly? Because I'm just bullying myself and then giving myself anxiety, and like eventually I'll do the thing, but it is 0% enjoyable. So if you could just, not be an asshole and still do things, it's going to be much more productive.
Well, and even if you want to, you can. So one thing I've done before in the past is like, if you've overeaten, just be like, okay, then I'm gonna go have a fucking fantastic pump at the gym, because all those extra
Yes.
carbs will just make you feel wonderful at the gym. So that's something that you can think about also, is that like, just put those good calories to use. You don't have to. And I don't want this to get confused with earning your food or anything like that, because that's not what we're aiming for. But if it's already in there, we might as well get some use out of it.
Yeah.
Is kind of my thought process.
Yeah. Use it for an awesome workout and
Yeah,
the biggest pump of your life.
biggest pump of your life. Your biceps are just going to be so sore. um, do we want to kind of talk about like drinking and
Yeah.
holidays and that stuff?
Yeah.
I know people are probably sick of hearing us talk about drinking, but
I
it's such
mean,
a big thing during the
they're gonna
holidays.
get over it because no. Yeah. Yeah.
Because when back when I was working in that corporate life, I know one thing that I for Christmas parties that I always did was like, I'm gonna get every dollar out of these people, and I'm gonna drink my worth, and that kind of thing, and I just want to remind folks that you're not gonna get back at people
By
by
drinking.
drinking. So don't worry about taking, even if the food is free, it does not, or the drinks are free, it does not mean you have to partake. You can still say nah.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's more ways to get back at the people you work for besides self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage is not gonna do it. But if you are trying to drink, just remember that drinking does lower your, it's not always the drinking that gets you in the fitness challenge, in the fitness space, but like the decisions that you're making because your inhibitions are lower.
Yeah.
So it's that Taco Bell that you're stopping at the way on the way home,
Mhm.
and going ham on.
Yeah, that domino effect. It's like drunk, dehydrated, hungry, you're making wrong decisions. You stop at Taco Bell, you get home, you don't sleep well because you're drunk and you're tossing, and then you wake up the next morning hungover, dehydrated, and working out sounds awful. So maybe you skip your workout, and then eventually, as you sober up, you start beating yourself up, and then you question, what the fuck did I say last night, and who did I offend? That's a whole other spiral to go down. And then by the next day, you're like, what the fuck did I do? And then
Well,
your
if you're over
momentum
30, it's
is
probably the next week because that
yeah.
hangover's sticking around.
The whole next week you're like, I hate my life. So that's it's just I know we like to talk about moderation and stuff and everything, but the older I get and the more, we talk about alcohol, I'm like, there's not even a reason. I'll just be straight up. Like, there's not even a reason to drink alcohol moderately because it literally has zero benefits. I don't know one person who's just like, I improve my life so much by drinking. It's just not a thing because usually people drink in order to cover something up. I've heard people say my life has improved since I stopped drinking. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree. Like I definitely don't drink anymore, but and I'm very happy with that decision. But I know I still get that every once in a while. I'm like, man, that looks like a lot of fun, and or that social anxiety, right? That you're like, I
Yeah.
really want this to go away. I'll just have a couple. If you are drinking, I always um, try to space it out to make those gaps with water. If you don't want to drink but are worried about the peer pressure, my tips are always to either get a non-alcoholic beverage, or you can always ask for like water in a cocktail glass, so people don't bother you. Another one of my go-to excuses was I'm on an antibiotic, or some kind of medication.
Yeah.
It's not anybody's business why you're
No.
not drinking. You don't have to answer them.
Yep.
You can be an asshole to them sometimes, even if you really want. It's really can be a personal decision. And I'm sure in California it's just as good as Ohio because we're always behind. But like NA options at the bars are fucking stellar anymore. So
Yeah.
many choices.
Yeah. So the cool part is we have so many more options now that don't involve alcohol. And if it is that like anxiety that is the reason that you drink, maybe you can find a different substance that doesn't make you feel so shitty. Like there's always a little bit of a little bit of cannabis, a little bit of Delta 8, just a little bit, just to kind of take the edge off. Um, or maybe if you have a good doctor that's prescribing you anything for that social anxiety. But like, yeah, so there's other options outside of alcohol to help with the social anxiety. But I know that's a huge reason that I used to reach for it. Um, yeah, it's hard because you want to just enjoy and not overthink, but
Yeah.
yeah, not worth it in the end.
Yes. My other tip that if you are drinking is to get snacks in your car. Because if you have snacks that are pre-approved or pre-worked out in your plan, have them in the car so you're less tempted to stop on the way home.
That's true.
Or in your pockets. I used to keep them in my winter coat.
Because the only places open late are not the places that are going to be aligned with your macro goals.
No, nope, nope.
Yeah.
No. But if you can like throw like a protein bar, or like my new kick is baby carrots because they're crunchy
Yeah.
and
Crunchy and
they don't
sweet.
really like you can you're not gonna completely derail your plan with baby carrots.
Very true. Do you do them like plain or you do ranch or anything with
I like
them?
them plain, but I ranch is always good, and you can make pretty low cal ranch with just a little packet and like Greek yogurt typically, um, or hummus is another big one.
Yeah. Can't
If you
forget
are
hummus.
going to like potlucks for Christmas parties, I always suggest bringing something that you can eat. um, so maybe a nice veggie tray, maybe I don't. That's for some reason I'm not a cook, so I can't ever come up with anything other than veggie tray.
I mean, it's, low
But
key. It's not a huge thing to make. So, yeah, or like a big salad, just so that
yeah,
there's
exactly.
something. Um, but yeah, trying to think if there's anything else that we missed on this topic specifically. Still think I can think of. Can you think of anything?
Um, no, I think it's really just have a plan and stick to stick to it as best you can.
Yeah.
Um, Also, like I know I've told Maddie before, like if we're going to a potluck, I'll be like, "Hey, can you make sure I don't just hang out at the snack table the whole time? Like, try to stay away from it, like physically, because it's not gonna be good if you're just standing next to it, talking to people, and like testing your willpower the whole evening.
Yeah.
Give yourself some space."
Yeah. Have yourself an accountability partner. That's a good
And keep your
idea.
hands busy. I think that's another great thing is if you can keep your hands busy with something. So either like a fidget or play a game, cards, stuff like that. Anything that you can do to keep something in your hands so you don't have any appendages to reach out and grab that snack too. I think it helps. Or it another one that I always used to do is like if I'm petting the dog, then my hands are dirty, so it's not like I'm gonna go and pick at things. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's very true. It's like, well, I've got dog like fur and dust all over my hands. So I'm not gonna go pick at those pretzels or those chips over there on that table.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Exactly. And those are my big tips.
yeah, I think that's all that I can think of. I think that mostly covers it. So,
Yeah.
should we dive into the power talk?
Heck yeah, I got it right here. So today's Power Talk is from Jim Rohn. I don't know who that is. I looked him up, and he apparently was like a record label owner and motivational speaker. But the quote today is take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. But don't forget to also nurture your soul. So I think that's kind of a good quote for the holidays just because you do want to let yourself have a little bit of fun because we don't want to feed into that binge restrict. You still have to live your life through the fitness journey, right? But remember that we do want to care for ourselves. It's the only body that we have. and it's way too expensive if we're sick.
Yeah.
um, so save yourself some money, save yourself some sickness. Just take care of yourself.
Yeah. That's the bottom line. Are you taking care of yourself? Ask yourself that throughout the holiday season. And don't lie and be like, oh, yeah, I'm taking care of myself with this cake. Like, let's make it in line with what your goals are. All right.
Yes, yes. Remember that we're trying to nourish our bodies. That's the point of food, is nourishment, not necessarily enjoyment. And that doesn't mean that nourishing food can't be enjoyable, but got to remember what is the actual intent of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, all
Perfect.
right, guys. So, again, thanks for listening to another episode of the Lab Podcast. Kel, do you want to finish it out?
Yeah. Come back next time. Rate and review, share the podcast, and talk to y'all later.
Bye.